By popular demand, I've compiled some of my favorite wine cellar defender recommendations from throughout the year, and in this video, I'm going to reveal my favorite wine cellar defenders for 2025. There's red wines, white wines, and a sparkling wine, and there's numerous different countries, regions, and price points represented. So there should be something for everyone. I found this high-quality wine selling for as little as 15 euros in the EU directly from the producer's website. While this wine sells for around $25 or so in the United States, it represents extreme value even at that price point. I featured another wine from this producer just a couple of weeks ago that is produced from vines that were planted way back in 1903. That wine sells for around $35 to $40 per bottle. This wine is made from slightly younger vines that were planted in 1911 and in the 1950s. These old vines are farmed organically and are part of a 2-hectare plot that's located on the upper slopes in Moulin-a-Vent. Talented fifth-generation winemaker Yohan Lardy acquired a 2-hectare plot in Les Michelons back in 2012 when he started his own winery. Since that time, Yohan Lardy has been making some incredibly high-quality wines that sell for extraordinarily reasonable prices. So this first top wine for $25 a bottle is the 2023 Domaine Yohan Lardy Les Michelons Moulin-a-Vent Cru Beaujolais. This wine received an impressive 97-point score from James Suckling's reviewer, Stuart Piggott. While the Domaine Yohan Lardy wine that was made from the 1903 vines requires at least 5 to 10 years of age before it shows its best, this is a wine that you can enjoy immediately or over the next 5 years. If you try this wine, you'll be rewarded with flavors and aromas that include mixed red, blue, and black fruit. This wine is intensely concentrated, yet very well balanced. It has silky texture and a long, pleasing finish. This is an absolutely stunning value and one I cannot recommend highly enough. I strongly encourage you to support talented young winemakers and small wineries like Domaine Yohan Lardy and give this wine a try. I've recommended the Grattamacco Bolgheri Superiore on this channel many times. That's an excellent wine that compares favorably with Sassicaia and Ornellaia at 1/3 of the price and certainly offers compelling value at around $100 per bottle. But today, I'm going to feature another wine from Grattamacco, namely the Bolgheri Rosso. This impressive wine sells for only around $25 per bottle. The 2023 vintage is on store shelves now. This wine is a blend that consists of 30% of both Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, 25% Cabernet Franc, 10% Sangiovese, and 5% Petit Verdot. This wine is matured exclusively in neutral French oak. As such, it has impressive purity of fruit. This is a full-bodied wine with flavors and aromas that include mixed red and black fruit, floral notes, graphite, and mixed spice. There's ample acidity and an impressive finish for a wine at this price point. This wine comes in at 13.5% alcohol by volume. This wine will be better in another year or so, but in a pinch you can definitely enjoy it immediately with a healthy decant, and you can certainly enjoy it over the next 9 to 10 years or so. It's definitely one to buy in bulk, as you'll be glad to have this one in your cellar. It will be a tremendous cellar defender and give you lots of flexibility in your cellar. The first of which is their flagship wine, the Marques de Murrieta Reserva. This is a wine that's produced every single vintage. It's their highest production wine by far. This wine is always a Tempranillo dominant blend, and it typically also includes some Graciano, Mizuelo, and a small amount of Garnacha. The 2021 vintage is the current release, and it's absolutely a tremendous effort. This wine is an incredible value at around $25 to $30 per bottle. For a wine at this modest price point, this wine was extremely well received by critics, and it also held its own during an impressive tasting lineup that I had at the winery. In fact, it's hard for me to identify any other wine in the world that offers more value at around the $25 or $30 price point than the 2021 Marques de Murrieta Reserva. This wine has pronounced aromatic intensity and flavors and aromas that include mixed red fruit, cedar, and floral notes. There's ample acidity and freshness, and silky refined tannins. This is a wine that you can enjoy immediately but it's also capable of aging for an extended period of time. In fact, just a couple years ago, I had some expressions of this wine back from the 1980s, and they were still showing well. The next top wine for $50 a bottle is the product of a joint venture between the owners of legendary first growth Bordeaux producer Chateau Mouton Rothschild and top Chilean producer Concha y Toro. Almaviva is a producer that's located in the Maipo Valley in Chile, about 90 minutes south of Santiago. Their top wine is consistently outstanding, but sells for around $150 or more per bottle. But they also have a second wine that offers compelling value at around the $50 price point. I recently had a chance to taste the 2022 Almaviva EPU at the James Suckling Great Worlds of Wine event in New York, and I was impressed with it. I thought it delivers exceptional value at this price point. This wine is a Cabernet Sauvignon dominant blend that has 84% Cabernet Sauvignon, 10% Carmenère, and it has smaller percentages of Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. This is a wine that matures for 12 months in only 10% new French oak, so it's definitely a wine that's designed for early consumption. For that reason, it makes an excellent cellar defender, and it's a terrific choice for those of you who don't want to wait to enjoy your wines. Next up is an extremely enjoyable Barolo from a top producer and an outstanding vintage that sells for only around $39 per bottle. This wine is made by a family-owned winery that traces its roots way back to 1890. At that time, it was owned and operated by Giuseppe Borgogno, but in 1935, Giuseppe Borgogno's son-in-law, Giacomo Damilano, took over the operation and subsequently made substantial progress in improving both the winemaking and the grape growing practices. Damilano is well known for being one of the biggest landowners in the prestigious Canubi MGA. But today I'm featuring a wine that's a blend of Nebbiolo from 5 different MGAs. This is the aptly named Lecinquevigne. For a wine that sells for only around $39 per bottle, critics certainly enjoyed and favorably reviewed the 2021 Damilano Barolo Lecinquevigne. You can expect a dark fruit profile with flavors and aromas that include leather, tar, floral notes, and mixed spice. There's a long, lingering finish and impressive acidity and freshness. 2022 Bordeaux is shaping up to be an absolutely phenomenal vintage. In fact, I was in Bordeaux a couple months ago, and even extremely inexpensive wines were quite impressive and enjoyable. 2022 Bordeaux is rolling out onto store shelves now, so I highly recommend that you stock up on this tremendous vintage, and if there's any producers that you enjoy, that you add them to your collection. But one that caught my eye this past week was the 2022 Chateau Labegorce. Labegorce is a producer that's based in Margaux, and it was acquired around the 2009 time period or so. Labegorce has around 53 hectares of vines in the Margaux appellation. These vines are planted to 50% Cabernet Sauvignon, 45% Merlot, and the rest is a blend of Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot. As is common in Bordeaux, the new owners made substantial investments in all aspects of the winery, and those investments paid handsome dividends, and the quality at Labegorce has never been higher. Fortunately, the price point has not yet caught up to the quality increases. The 2022 vintage, for example, is a highly acclaimed wine, yet it sells for only around $40 per bottle. This is a wine that features flavors and aromas of black cherry, black currant, violet, graphite, and cedar. The body for this wine tends to be a little bit heavier than many of the wines in the Margaux appellation, but you'll be pleased to note that it's one you can enjoy on the younger side. The 2022 Labegorce matured in 40% new French oak. This is not the most complex wine, but it's definitely one that's showing well young, and you can definitely feel free to enjoy it anytime over the next 7 or 8 years. Next up is another extremely enjoyable wine from a historic producer that's been around for more than 300 years and has been owned and operated by more than 13 generations of the same family. Despite the fact that this high-quality producer makes one of the very best white wines in the entire world, they also have an extremely enjoyable white wine that's a consistent performer year in and year out, but which sells for as little as $20 per bottle in the United States and undoubtedly less than that in the EU. So the next top wine is the 2022 Trimbach Riesling, which comes from Alsace, France. Alsace is a very underrated region generally, in my opinion, and it offers lots of compelling quality at a variety of price points. But this is definitely one of my favorite values at $20 to $25 or so. This is a wine that's available pretty much worldwide, and you can definitely find it in most wine stores, as well as on many restaurant lists. It makes a perfect pairing for starters, as well as seafood and white meat. While many people complain that they don't like Riesling because they don't like sweet wines, this wine is bone dry. It has an alcohol by volume of around 12.8%, so it is a little bit more on the powerful side for a Riesling, but it's also extremely well balanced and it has ample acidity and freshness as well. This is a mineral-driven wine with flavors and aromas of lemon, pear, apple, and citrus. Located in northwest Spain in the Galicia region, Valdeorras produces some of my very favorite white wines from Spain. Notably, however, it also produces some intriguing red wines, such as the next top wine for $40 a bottle. This wine comes from one of the oldest and most historic vineyards in Valdeorras. This is a north-facing vineyard, and so the fruit ripens very late in the year over an extended growing season. The result is an extremely intriguing, ethereal, mineral-driven wine that has some lift to it and some intriguing floral notes, but also some surprising power and concentration. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the 2022 Bodegas Avancia Old Vines Mencia, which I found selling for around $39 per bottle. This wine is 100% Mencia. They mature this wine for 8 months in French oak. Interestingly, they also use a percentage of carbonic maceration and stem inclusion, which helps to add a little bit of lift to the wine and also makes the wine a bit more approachable right on release. This wine has a medium body and a darker fruit profile, along with flavors and aromas that include graphite, leather, mixed herbs, and pepper. This is an extremely well-balanced wine with fine-grained tannins and ample acidity. It's one you can enjoy immediately, and it's a perfect choice for a red wine for summer. Montepulciano di Abruzzo is a large wine region that is ideally and idyllically located between the Apennine foothills and the Adriatic Sea. The foothills provide some rocky sites with elevation, which is where many of the top wines are produced. Not surprisingly, Montepulciano is the dominant grape in Montepulciano di Abruzzo, although some blends are permitted. Montepulciano has been a workhorse grape that's been used to produce affordable red wines in central Italy for many years, but it is certainly capable of producing very high-quality wines as well, such as the next top Italian wine value. Tiberio is one of my favorite producers of Montepulciano di Abruzzo. They have some high-end wines that I really enjoy, but their entry-level wine, which is called the Montepulciano di Abruzzo, sells for an extremely reasonable $25 per bottle, and the 2022 vintage is really an extraordinary value at this price point. While Montepulciano di Abruzzo can be extremely tannic and have very grippy tannins, Tiberio did an excellent job with tannin management for this wine. They used some extremely gentle extraction techniques and also matured this wine for only 5 months in stainless steel. As a result, this wine is surprisingly smooth and approachable, even in its youth. This wine comes in at 14.5% alcohol by volume. This wine is full-bodied and powerful, but simultaneously elegant and refined. There's pronounced aromatic and flavor intensity. The flavors and aromas include sour cherry, blueberry, violet, and wet stone. An extremely impressive wine that I think you will enjoy. Next up is the Ferrari Brut sparkling wine, which comes from Trentino Alto Adige. This is a wine that's made in the same production method as champagne, so the secondary fermentation takes place in the bottle that you purchase. This is a wine that's a consistent performer each and every year, and it's typically well received by critics. This wine comes from a fairly large producer and it has broad distribution, so you should be able to locate this wine with no problem at all. And I've also found it on restaurant wine lists at many Italian restaurants around the world. This wine is 100% Chardonnay, so it's a Blanc de Blanc, and it comes in at around 12.5% alcohol by volume. You can expect flavors and aromas that include lemon, pear, apple, spice, and floral notes, and it has a rich and creamy texture with ample acidity. The next top wine for $25 a bottle comes from another world-class producer. This time, the producer is located in Mendoza, Argentina. This is a wine that comes from the 2021 vintage, and I'm generally a fan of the 2021 vintage in Mendoza. It was a cooler vintage, and there was some rain throughout the year as well. But savvy producers use these cooler conditions to their advantage, letting their fruit ripen fully over an extended growing season. The result is the best of both worlds, with fruit that was intensely concentrated and ripe, yet which had impressive acidity and freshness as well. So the 2021 El Enemigo Malbec comes in at an impressive 13.5% alcohol by volume and has remarkable acidity and freshness for a wine from Mendoza, Argentina. While this wine has Malbec on the label, it's actually a red blend that consists of 90% Malbec, but also 10% Cabernet Franc or so. El Enemigo has some excellent Cabernet Franc, and I think that this addition makes a big difference in this wine. This is a wine that has flavors and aromas of mixed red and black fruit, licorice, whetstone, spice, and floral notes. It was well received by critics, and it's a no-brainer if you enjoy South American wines or Malbec generally. The next top wine for $30 a bottle comes from a legendary producer. This is wine that's powerful, yet well-balanced, with very smooth tannins. You can enjoy this wine young, but it will certainly give you some flexibility in the cellar and age for a number of years as well. Sometimes this producer's wines can be a little bit of a challenge to enjoy when they're young because they oftentimes use lots of new oak to mature the wines. This wine, however, was matured in only 16% new oak for only around 1 year or so. As a result, the oak influence is very subtle and there's impressive purity of fruit. This wine includes flavors and aromas of blackberry, blackcurrant, violets, and mixed spice. There's plush tannins and a velvety mouthfeel. This is the Penfolds Shiraz, bin 28. The fruit for this wine is sourced from a number of different areas in South Australia, including McLaren Vale, Barossa Valley, Clare Valley, and more. It's definitely a compelling value for around $30 per bottle. We're going to start out strong with an excellent wine from iconic Italian producer Marques Antinori. This is the 2021 Villa Antinori Chianti Classico Reserva. This is a wine that is produced from fruit that is sourced from highly coveted sites throughout the Chianti Classico region. For example, for this 2021 vintage, they obtained fruit from Gaiole, Greve, Castellino, and more. Note that this is not the Chianti Classico Reserva that Marques Antinori produces from plots that do not go into Tignanello. That's certainly an excellent wine as well, but that one will set you back closer to $50 per bottle. For the Villa Antinori, Marques Antinori tries to achieve a consistent house style year after year. So if this is a wine that you enjoy, you can definitely rely on it vintage after vintage. They mature this wine in a blend of tonneau and barrique. Tonneau is typically 4 times larger than barrique, and so you won't get quite as much new oak influence from those larger wooden vessels as you would from the smaller barriques. This is a very enjoyable wine that features flavors and aromas of black plum, cherry, leather, licorice, floral notes, and mixed herbs and spices. It's a wine that you can enjoy young, but it will definitely be a little bit better if you can hold off for at least a year or two. They produce around 42,000 cases of this wine, around 7,000 of which are imported in the United States. But in this video, I'm going to identify one particular wine that I think offers excellent value at around $40 or so in the United States, and probably for much less than that in the EU, namely the 2022 Chateau Saint Christophe. This producer is located on Bordeaux's right bank in Saint-Emilion, and this wine is a blend that consists of 80% Merlot and 20% Cabernet Franc. The Tour Saint Christophe vineyards have ideal south and southwest facing exposure, and they have soils with excellent drainage, which is certainly helpful in rainy vintages like 2024. But better still, this estate experienced new ownership back in 2012, and at that time the new owners spared little expense in overhauling the winery and reinvigorating the vineyards. The vines in these vineyards average about 30 years of age at this time. Tour Saint-Christophe has been on a roll lately, and I particularly enjoy the vintages from 2018, 2019, and 2020, but 2022 may be my favorite of the bunch. This wine features a mix of red, black, and blue fruit with ample acidity, silky tannins, and a long, pleasing finish. Fans of Spanish wines will appreciate this next recommendation, which sells for as little as $20 or so in the United States, and undoubtedly significantly less than that in the EU. This is the 2020 Palacios Romando Finca La Montesa Rioja. This is a wine that's dominant in Garnacha, but it usually includes some Tempranillo as well. It's a very serious wine despite this modest price point, and it's one that's done extremely well with critics. Jancis Robinson in particular is definitely a fan of this wine. Given the fact that this is a serious wine, they're already pushing the price up to try to get it more in line with the quality of this wine. So this is definitely a great opportunity to stock up on this one while you still can at these low prices. They made almost 700,000 bottles of this wine, so there's still plenty of it in retail channels. You'll definitely want to move quickly as the 2020 vintage already has some age on it, and they may come out with another vintage soon. This is a medium-bodied wine with pronounced aromatic intensity. Flavors and aromas include red cherry, raspberry, strawberry, red currant, and floral notes. While Rioja is certainly an excellent choice for cellar defenders, in my view, it's also one of the smartest places for wine collectors to be looking for high-quality wines at all price points. A couple months ago, I visited Rioja for the second time, and following that visit, I did a deep dive into Rioja and discussed some of my very favorite wines and some discoveries I made during that trip. To learn more, please be sure to watch this video that's linked above.